I used to work the overnight shift at a place called Briar Hollow Station, a lonely 24-hour rest stop nestled somewhere in rural Pennsylvania. If you blinked driving past it, you'd miss it entirely. Just 2 gas pumps, a bathroom that always smelled like mildew, and a sad little convenience store that sold stale sandwiches and off-brand energy drinks. I was 27 at the time, saving up for grad school. I took the night shift thinking I'd use the quiet hours to study or read. But the truth is, once it got past midnight, that place had a kind of silence that swallowed you whole. Not peaceful, unnerving. The kind of quiet where your thoughts start turning on themselves. The rest stop backed up against a stretch of old train tracks, long abandoned and half buried under weeds and fallen branches. Locals claimed it used to carry coal back in the 50s, but now it just sat there, rusted and forgotten, like something time meant to erase but didn't quite finish. That night was colder than usual for late October. A fog had rolled in thick around 1:30 a.m., smearing the glass windows and muting the lights outside until everything looked dipped in gray watercolor. I wrapped my hoodie tight around me and leaned on the counter, flipping through my phone for something mindless. It was just after 1:45 when I noticed something weird on the monitor. One of our security cameras faced the back lot, the edge of the dumpster zone in the beginning of the woods. Just past that was the railway line. On the grainy black and white feed, a figure was pacing the tracks, moving slow, back and forth like they were searching for something. No flashlight, no bag, just a dark, skinny outline. I squinted at the screen, trying to make out more. Male, maybe, average height. The fog didn't help. He stopped at one point and turned, like he was staring straight into the camera, even though I knew that was impossible. Then, just like that, he walked into the tree line and vanished. I stared at the screen for another minute, waiting for him to reappear. Nothing. I told myself it was just some drifter, maybe a camper who got turned around. Still, I couldn't shake this feeling in my gut, this strange tightness that had nothing to do with caffeine or nerves. The longer I stood there, the more it felt like something was off. The air felt thick, like being watched through a window you couldn't see. I tried to shake it off, chalking it up to too many horror podcasts and too little sleep. But that fog, it wasn't just outside. It was starting to creep into my head too. That was the moment the chime over the door rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, not at that hour. And when I turned to see who walked in, something about him immediately made my skin crawl. He stepped in like he belonged there, like it was his station and I was the guest. Tall, maybe early 40s, though something about his face made it hard to tell. He wore a long brown coat, soaked from the mist, with mud crusted around the cuffs. His shoes were too clean though. Shiny even. Not the kind you wear to walk down a muddy railway. Not the kind you'd wear at all if you were actually from out here. He didn't come straight to the counter. He wandered the aisles for a moment, slowly dragging his fingers along the tops of the chip bags and plastic-wrapped pastries like he was unfamiliar with all of it. Then he turned to me and said, "Are the lights out back still working?" It was the first thing he said. Not hello. Not do you sell gas. Just that question. I blinked at him. Yeah, I think so." He nodded once, like that meant something to him. He approached the counter with this oddly stiff posture, eyes a little too wide. When he spoke again, his tone was polite. Too polite, like a person rehearsing lines. "I missed the Greyhound into Derryville. Must have walked 10 miles down the road before I saw your lights. Mind if I use the phone?" We didn't get a lot of foot traffic, let alone someone walking 10 miles through the woods in October fog. I asked him where exactly he'd started from. He hesitated, then vaguely waved behind him. "Just walking through, you know, the old line." I knew what he meant, the tracks. Something about how he said it though, so casually, the old line, got under my skin. I handed him the store phone, but his fingers barely brushed it before he pulled them back. "Actually, never mind. I'll just wait a while. Clear my head." Then he just stood there, staring at me, like I was supposed to start a conversation. I tried to act normal, grabbing a rag and pretending to wipe down the counter. I noticed he kept glancing, not at me, but at the back hallway. The one marked employees only. The one that led to the break room, the supply closet, and the rear exit. "Looking for something?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. No, just wondering how often you work alone out here. That hit me like a bucket of ice water. Sorry? He waved his hand, dismissing it. You must get bored. All this space, all these hours. Strange place to be by yourself, don't you think? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Something about his presence was triggering a part of my brain I didn't even know I had. Instinct. Every hair on my arms was standing straight up. I went to refill the coffee pot just to get behind something. As I turned, I caught a glimpse of the monitor facing the back lot. My blood ran cold. There was another figure. Not the one inside. Someone else. Crouched behind the dumpster, close to the back door. I stared at the monitor longer than I should have, trying to convince myself I was imagining it. The camera angle wasn't perfect. Grainy, black and white, a halo of static, but it was enough to show a shadow just barely shifting behind the dumpster. Someone was out there, hunched low, half hidden, and he wasn't moving like he was lost. He was waiting. I glanced back at the man inside the store. He was still watching me, arms folded now, eyes flicking between the aisles and the front windows, like he was surveying the layout, calculating something. My heart started hammering. I forced my voice to sound steady. Hey, if you want, I can check the bus schedule for you. Maybe see if one's still running tonight. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned his head toward the glass door, not looking out at the road, but off to the side, toward the woods. His lips curled, just slightly. A smile, like he'd heard an inside joke. I think I'll just wait for a friend, he said softly. They'll be here, soon. That's when I knew. He hadn't walked here alone. Trying not to show my panic, I casually excused myself to grab my phone from the back office. As soon as I was out of his sight, I bolted down the hallway and ducked behind the security door. My hands were trembling as I slammed my palm against the silent alarm switch. The panic button connected directly to local police. I didn't know how long it would take them, but I had to buy time. I peeked at the monitors again. The man inside hadn't moved. He was now standing at the front of the store, staring out the glass. But not like he was watching the road. He was looking at something behind the reflection, something I couldn't see from my angle. Then came the knock, soft, 3 times, from the back door. I swear I stopped breathing. I turned to the feed for the rear exit. The camera's night vision flickered, and for just a second, I saw a hand press lightly against the glass. Thin fingers, no gloves, just fingertips, gently tapping, like they knew I was watching. The man inside didn't react to the knock. He didn't have to. He knew they were there. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I sat there in the dark office, listening to the muffled hum of the drink coolers and the hum of the flickering lights. My only thought was, don't make a sound. Don't let them know where you are. A full minute passed before anything changed. On the monitor, I saw the man at the front door straighten his coat. Then, calmly, with no sense of urgency, he pulled open the door and stepped into the fog. He didn't run. He didn't look back. And the hand on the back door? Gone. It took the police about 20 minutes to show up, even with the silent alarm. Out here, emergency is relative. The moment I saw the cruiser's lights flash through the fog, I felt like I could finally breathe again. But by then, of course, they were gone. The officers swept the building, then the back lot. One walked the tree line with a flashlight while the other questioned me. I told them everything. About the man, the pacing figure on the tracks, the knock at the back door. I even showed them the camera footage. They watched it all in silence. No one cracked a joke. No one suggested I was tired or imagining things. That somehow made it worse. When they reviewed the outdoor footage, the grainy timestamp flickered as the man outside moved in and out of view. The second figure, the one by the dumpster, was harder to make out, but you could see him if you watched closely. A shape crouched low, motionless except for one quick shift, like he was adjusting something, waiting for a signal. And then the officer paused the footage and leaned closer. Did you ever notice this? I looked at the screen. In the corner of one frame, barely there, was a third shadow. Farther out, standing at the edge of the trees. It never moved. It was never seen again on camera. 3 of them. None of them said more than a few words. None of them left a trace. The officers swept the property again, more carefully this time. They found boot prints around the back exit. Multiple sets, some fresher than others. And here, the weird part? Every set of prints led toward the building, but there were no return tracks. None led back to the road. None disappeared into the trees. It was like they'd walked in from the woods and vanished into the fog. The next morning, after the sun finally burned through the mist, they found something else. Near the railway tracks, just out of range of our security cameras, someone had set up a crude little camp. Nothing elaborate, a burned-out circle of rocks, a few crumpled water bottles, and a pile of dead flashlight batteries, stacked neatly in a row. The weirdest part? One of the poles along the railway, part of the old power line system, had been sawed halfway through, rusted tools left nearby. It hadn't fallen yet, but it was hanging at an angle, almost like someone was trying to black out the area without making it obvious. When they traced the prints back as far as they could, they just stopped. Mid-step. As if the person vanished mid-stride. Nothing was stolen. No vandalism. No trace of a vehicle ever pulling up. The man in the brown coat had never touched a product, never asked for food, never even blinked at the register. When they ran the footage through facial recognition, it came up blank. I worked one more shift after that. Just one. But every creak, every camera flicker, every flickering light made my stomach twist. So I quit. It's been 8 months. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night, convinced I heard 3 soft knocks. Other times I check my own backyard camera and catch myself scanning the shadows. Because here's the thing I can't forget. That man didn't walk in to rob a store. He walked in like he was checking the place, like he'd been there before, and he wasn't alone. The tracks behind Briar Hollow may be abandoned, but that doesn't mean they're empty. If these stories sent a chill down your spine, go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe for more eerie tales. What would you do if you were caught in one of these unsettling situations? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear what's on your mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.